Good day everyone, my name is Baltazar and my group was assigned to discuss all about the skeletal system. So we will be discussing the frog's skeleton as of today. So we all know that the skeleton of the frog consists of bony and cartilaginous elements. So the main function of this skeletal system is to provide support of the body for movement and also for protection of delicate internal organs and attachment surfaces for muscles. So in this topic, we will be able to identify the bones from the frog's head up to the toes. So the different parts of this skeletal system will be discussed by my group mates. We will be able to know the functions of each bones, and we will be able to identify what is the difference of the frog's bone and the human bone.
Hello guys, I'll be reporting today about dorsal bones of the frog's skull. So here are the parts of dorsal bones. I have here premaxilla. It is the most anterior bone which bear teeth. Maxilla is the pair of bones bearing teeth or posterior of the premaxilla. Quadratojugals. It is the toothless bones or posterior to the maxilla. The frontoparietals, it is the pair of slender bones at the root or roof of the skull. Sphenoid, it is the small bone anterior to the frontoparietals. Nasal is the pair of triangular bone anterior of the sphenoid. Protex is the pair of ring-like projections on each side the skull posterior the frontoparietalis. Squamosal is the pair of T-shaped bones lateral to the protex, and the exoccipitals is the short bone surrounded by the foramen magnum. And the last is occipital condyles. It is the rounded prominences on each occipital.
Good day everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Gutierrez Suguitan. As you all know, today I'm going to talk to you about skull ventral view. So what is skull ventral view? The ventral is from Latin verten, belly. Ventral surface refers to the front or lower side of an organism. These are the parts of this skull ventral view: parasphenoid, boomers, palatines, pterygoids.
Parasphenoid bone is a flattened and inverted T-shaped bone of frog. Boomers, teeth-bearing bone just posterior to the premaxilla. Palatines bones are irregular bones of the facial skeleton in many animal species. Located about the uvula in the throat, palatines rod-like slender bones extending from the anterior end of the sphenoid to maxilla. Pterygoids, one of the bones of the palate forming the roof of the mouth. Pterygoids, three-rayed bones joined to the protex, squamosal, and maxilla.
Bones of lower jaw. Mechal's cartilage are surrounded by three bones. First is the mentomechalian, angulus planial, and dentary. Mentomechalian. It is a small cartilage bone formed as an ossification at the extreme anterior end of Mechal's cartilage at the anterior symphysis of two halves mandible. Angulus planial. It is a long and curved bone forming most of the inner and posterior portion of its ramus of mandible. Its anterior end is tapering, while its posterior extremely bursts dorsally, a condyle or knob-like articular surface for the quadrate cartilage of the skull. Dentary. It is a small flat dagger-like bone covering the outer surface at the anterior portion of the Mechal's cartilage. It extends anteriorly up to the mentomechalian areas.
My report for today is the study of vertebrae. First is atlas vertebra. It is the first vertebra of the vertebral column. It is simply in the form of a bony ring in which the centrum and neural spines reduce. It enables the head to move up and down but not side to side. Next is umbilicus vertebra. It is the eighth vertebra connected to the posterior side of the urostyle. In order to provide attachment to the invertebral disc, the upper and lower surfaces of the vertebra body are flattened and rough. Next is sacral vertebra. It is a large, flat triangular shaped bone nested between the hip bones and positioned below the last lumbar vertebra. To articulate securely with pelvic girdle, and they usually fuse to form a single bone, the sacrum, to provide a firm support. And the last is urostyle. It is the posterior unsegmented part of the vertebral column representing the fusion of the caudal vertebrates. It is half of the total length of the vertebral column of the frog. Urostyle is a rod-like fusion of the sacral vertebra running in parallel with the extended iliac blades of the pelvis, resulting in a strong shock-absorbing pelvic basket.
Princess Diane Pillien. My report for today is all about the parts of the pelvic girdle. As you can see in the picture, this is a presacral. This one is the sacral diapophysis. Sesamoid, this is the sesamoid bone. Ilium, this is the ilium. Ilium is the anterior slender bone articulating with the transverse process of the sacrum. And this is the iliac chest, iliac shaft, ischium. Ischium is the short posterior bone on the dorsal side of the pelvic girdle. And this is a pubis. Pubis is a triangular cartilage on the ventral side of the calf, like depression which receives the head of the femur. And this is the coccyx. That's all. Thank you.
Bones of the pectoral girdle sternum. Suprascapula, distal flat cartilage and forming the dorsal portion. Scapula, smaller bone articulating with the suprascapula. Scapula, smaller bone articulating with the scapula. Clavicle, interior medial slender bone of the scapula. Coracoid, posterior median bone of the scapula. Epiracoracoid, cartilage at the proximal end of clavicle. Sephisternum, heart-shaped cartilage at the posterior tip. Mesisternum, a bony rod connection to the epicoracoid. Episternum, flat circular cartilage at the interior tip. Homosternum, tempered bone attached interior to the epiracoracoid.
Okay, so I believe that the parts and functions of the skeletal system of the frog was already discussed by my group mates. Now we are ready to make a difference between the human and the frog's skeletal system. So to begin with, let us summarize all the information that was discussed. So we all know that the skeletal system acts as a support system both in human and in frogs. So that is one thing that makes them common. And there are other things that we can actually identify as a difference between the human and the frog's skeletal system, just like the head, because the frog's head is flat. And also, in the vertebrae, we all know that the human have 24 vertebrae, while the frogs only have 9. And we also have to know that the frog has no ribs. The rib-like bone that we are actually seeing at their backs is just a part of their spine. And frogs also doesn't have a neck, which is why they are unable to lift and turn their heads, just like the humans. And also, frogs does not have a tail. While in human, we have a tailbone, which is called coccyx. And other parts of the human and frog's skeletal system is somewhat similar. And that will be it for the skeletal system. Thank you for watching and for listening.